Hi friends, it's Shuba. Welcome back to my channel. It is time for my July reading wrap up. As you can see right here, I read quite a lot of books. A lot of good ones, a lot of great ones, and one or two that weren't necessarily my favorites, and I'm here to talk to you about those books and give you my reviews. In the month of July, I read 11 books total. I DNFed 1 book. Out of those 11 books, I gave 2 books 5 stars. The genres that I mostly read for were fiction and then romance. As expected, I feel like I'm always reading romance books, so you can always find a review for romance in my reading wrap-ups. I'm just gonna get right into it because we have 11 books to talk about, so grab your beverage of choice and enjoy watching. The first book that I want to talk about is Deliverance by James Dickey. This book is considered a classic, a modern classic, if you will. I went into this story expecting more than what I got out of it, but the more I sit with this book, I believe I understand why it is considered a classic. Overall, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. This is a book about 4 bored men who live in the city, and they decide to take a 3-day canoe trip out in the wilderness of some area in Georgia. I don't know the actual location. They've never been on this river before, so with that being said, of course, what could go wrong? While they're on this 3-day canoe trip, they get attacked by these mountain men that live out in the wilderness. So they essentially have to fight for their lives just to get back home. This was a very short story for me, and I found that the plot wasn't riveting enough for me to keep going. I think by the middle of this book, I was a little bored, and then the end picked back up very quickly. Right when I finished this book, I was underwhelmed by the story of Deliverance and what it actually means and why it's considered a modern classic, but the more I sit with it, I think I understand now why it is a classic. When the men are attacked, there's a moment of survival of the fittest, what they need to do right now to survive the night. There's a stark difference between how these characters go into this trip and then how they deal with these different situations. And I think it's really interesting how every person deals with the situation at hand differently, kind of inviting their sense of morality and questioning what's right and wrong and what they just have to do to survive. I honestly do not know what I would do in a situation like this. Don't get me wrong, I don't agree with the actions that were taken by the city men, our main characters, and then our mountain folk. It just kind of scares me, and I think that's where that moral dilemma comes into play and why this is still such a very important story. Right after the story, I ended up watching the movie, and I found that the movie wasn't as scary compared to the book, and that just showed that I liked the book even more than the movie. So underwhelmed at first, but the more I sit with it, I definitely understand. These next 3 books I'm going to quickly and briefly mention because I do have an entire reading vlog where I read these books and talk about how they relate to feminine rage. I gave Cursed Bread by Sophie Mackintosh a 3 out of 5. This is a story about a girl named Elodie. She is a baker's wife who is very much unfulfilled with her life in this small town post-war of France. One day, this couple, Violet and then the ambassador, they move in, and Elodie is immediately infatuated by them. She starts to obsess over their lifestyle and wants to get to know them even more. And I think this has to do with the fact that Elodie's husband does not give 2 shits about her. He does not treat her well at all. He kind of just brushes her off. So Elodie is finding friendship through Violet and the ambassador. Once Violet and the ambassador move in, though, strange things start to happen, and there's a plague that hits the town. So people are unsure of what the problem is. Slowly, horses are dying, people are going crazy. As Elodie and Violet become friends, their friendship turns into something more than that, a sapphic love tale that's intertwined with this weird sequence of events that happens. Overall, I didn't like the story as much as I thought I would. The story was more so focused on the sapphic love story than it was on the plague, and my issue is that I wish we dove a little bit deeper into what's happening around the town rather than Elodie and Violet. I I liked it. I don't necessarily think that I would come back to it or really recommend it because there are a few other books that I liked more. Chlorine by Jade Song is one of the books that I gave a 5 out of 5 star. This small but mighty book just filled me up with so many emotions. I loved it so much. You'll just need to watch my vlog to get more of those in-depth details, but this is a story about a girl named Ren Yu. She is a high school swimmer. Deep down inside, she knows she does not belong in human society. She believes that she should be a mermaid. So this is just a story of her transforming slowly into a mermaid, literally, figuratively. You'll just have to read the book to find out. I absolutely loved how we got her first person point of view just so we could really feel and understand her emotions, really just feel the female rage that you get to explore in this story. I will say that there is some body horror, so if that is a trigger warning for you, be wary of that. Overall, loved the story so much. I loved the theme of finding yourself and just releasing from societal expectations and really just doing what you want. And I think that as a 15, 16-year-old, I did not find myself, or I still feel like I'm learning day by day, but Ren Yu knew from her 4th year of birth, I don't know why I said it like that she was born to be a mermaid. She's born to be free and just being who she is. So it was really fascinating to read from this point of view, and I definitely felt the female rage. The last book that I read in this female rage vlog is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. I've had this book for so long, as you all might have known if you watch my previous videos, and I am so happy to say that it met my expectations. It was good. I don't know why I was so afraid to read it, but I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. This story is about our narrator. We don't know her name. She is taking a year off of work, of life, of all of her responsibilities just to rest and relax, essentially. That's what she calls it. She is anxious, she's depressed, she wishes that she could escape the prison of her mind and soul, is what she says. She ends up going to a psychotherapist who prescribes her to all kinds of weird drugs that I've never heard of before in my entire life, just so she can rest and relax for an entire year. So this takes place in the mind of our narrator, and just kind of you feel those emotions of anxiety and depression and just how lonely and alone she feels. It's a very sad book, but weirdly enough, there was no female rage to it that I felt. I just felt really numb after reading the story. The ending was quite intense, but also freeing at the same time. I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about very briefly, as they are rereads for me. I am rereading the Throne of Glass series with my friend Logan. She is reading them for the very first time, so I just thought that I would join her since I haven't read these since 2021. I read The Assassin's Blade in July and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and then I gave Throne of Glass a 4 out of 5 stars. These books were 2 books that I originally gave 5 out of 5 stars, and to me, a 5 out of 5 means that I would reread it again. After reading them this time, I did like it a lot. I don't foresee myself reading them again in the future. So these rereads were just 4 out of 5 stars for me. I read The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this story a lot. I was told that if you like Bride by Ali Hazelwood, then to try The Fake Mate, just so you can get a little bit more of that Omegaverse. And Omegaverse, you'll have to Google it. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's very much the Alpha Omega. That's it. Terrible explanation. This is a shape-shifting story, which makes it a part of the Omegaverse, about our 2 main characters, Max and Noah, or I guess Mac. She goes by Mackenzie, but also Mac. Mac needs a fake boyfriend so her grandma can get off of her back. and stop nagging her to find a partner. Noah, on the other hand, needs a fake mate for reasons I cannot tell you because that is part of the plot of the story. What I like about the story is that they agree to fake date pretty early on into the story, so as you progress and read through, you kind of get the romance that builds up. It's not very sudden. It's just slow and gradual, and I really loved the slow burn of it all. Noah is considered to be the grumpy and mistaken male character, and then Mac, on the other hand, is our sunshine, bubbly, friendly female character who I can very much relate to. She's a strong and independent woman that I would be friends with for sure. Also, what's really funny to me that I kept laughing throughout the book is that she is obsessed with soup, all kinds of soup, cold soup, hot soup, you name it. I bet she would love Olive Garden. Like I said, the fake mate goes a little bit deeper into the Omegaverse and the fated mates trope. So if that's something that you're interested in, then this would be a really good recommendation for you. Something else to note is the spice level was through the roof. It was very spicy to the point where I just had to flip through some of the pages because I couldn't be bothered to read them. I've learned about myself that I am a closed door romance gal. I want more of the connection. I want more of the emotional romance that really tells you that two people like each other outside of the physical. Lana Ferguson's writing style also reminded me a lot of Abby Jimenez's Yours Truly, and I absolutely loved Yours Truly so much. So if you like that book, you might like this one as well. Regardless of the spice, this book definitely made me kick my feet, made me giggle, and just had a smile on my face throughout the book. I really enjoyed it. In the Magnolia Parks universe series, I read the first book, Magnolia Parks, with my friend Lauren. We did a buddy read, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I understand that this is a very toxic story. I'm just reading it for fun. So give me the drama, give me the toxicity, because it has nothing to do with my life personally, and I'm just reading about it. These are fictional characters, so I personally think it's okay as long as you understand that. Magnolia Parks is very much like Gossip Girl, but it takes place in London high society. We follow Magnolia and BJ. They are two high school sweethearts or college sweethearts, I can't remember, but they are just intertwined and entangled and broken hearted. There is something that happens within this story that makes them break up, but they keep getting pulled towards each other, and there is just a piece of each other's heart that cannot be filled. There is a lot of drama in this story, and I have to say I really enjoy all of the characters in the story. Besides the drama, I love how everyone is just infatuated with each other, and I love the friendships, because it reminds me of Gossip Girl. It's not healthy, but it's fun. I also love that it takes place in London. The ending of the story made my jaw dropped, and I do not condone what happens in the story at all. If you read this, you know. But it was really fun, and it makes me want to pick up the next story. And in August, I will actually be reading Daisy Hates, which is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe, with Lauren. In the month of July, I shared another reading vlog where I read these two books, a book from Book of the Month and then a book from Aardvark Book Club. I'm going to briefly talk about them. We'll start off with I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I ended up DNFing this book. I'm sad about it too, but we just need to move forward with it, and we have no regrets. I have no regrets. I DNF'd this story twice. It was a soft DNF, and then the second time in the reading vlog, which I will link up here, I fully DNF'd it. I might come back to it in an audiobook in the future, but this just wasn't for me when I was physically reading it with a hard copy or physical copy. You know what I mean. This is a story about our main character. His name is Tully, and he is retelling the events about how he became a teenage slasher in a very small town of Texas. We are reading from adult Tully's perspective, but we also have flashbacks as he's retelling his events from high school and how he basically got not possessed, but something magical happens where he starts killing people and taking revenge on his high school classmates. I made it about 175-ish pages and I couldn't do it anymore. It was way too slow for me. I don't even like audiobooks, reading audiobooks. I like listening to audiobooks, which is why I mentioned that maybe I'll try listening to it next time. I just could not deal with Tully's ramblings as he's in high school. I couldn't deal with that. It just was all over the place and I couldn't figure out what was actually happening. I was bored. That is why I am really sad to DNF this book, because I personally love slasher films. I love horrors and thrillers. Every October, Mark and I choose a series to watch. A few years ago we did Halloween, and then last year we did the Saw movies. Very gross, I know. And this year we might do Freddy, but I just love slasher films. So I was looking forward to this and it just did not hit. It barely hit. It missed. On the other hand, in the same vlog, I read The God of the Woods by Liz Moore and I absolutely love this story. This is the other book in the month of July that I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. It was really good. This is essentially a slow burn mystery thriller about a girl named Barbara who ends up going missing from her family-owned summer camp in 1975. The catch here is that 14 years ago, her older brother ended up going missing as well from that same summer camp. The family that Barbara is a part of and that owns the summer camp is the Van Laar family, and they are a very wealthy family that essentially takes over the small town. I don't remember what the town is called. To add to the chills, there's a convicted serial killer that escapes from jail right before Barbara goes missing. It's a lot, but it gets so good. When I say that this is a slow burn, I mean that Liz Moore's attention to detail is so good. Her detail adds to the eeriness of it. It adds to the story to the point where you want to keep reading, and I definitely want to pick up some of her other works. We read from multiple point of views, which I absolutely loved, which adds to the suspense, but also helps us see the storyline from different perspectives as we're all trying to put the puzzle pieces together and figure out what actually happened to Barbara. Not only that, we also travel back in time to try to figure out what happened to Barbara's brother as well. So it's a lot of different events that you might think would make things complicated, but I think that Liz Moore did such a good job with the detail. It really added to the effectiveness of figuring out the story and leading to the ending of the story. I'm gonna leave it at that. You'll just have to watch my reading vlog if you want me to go into more detail about why I love this story so much. I loved it, 5 out of 5. I recommend. This next book is a book that I've been waiting for. It is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I left my Kobo in the other room, so you'll just have to look at this picture right here. In good Ali Hazelwood fashion, Rue is our main character, and she is an engineer at a biotech company named Klein. She has a good job. She has good friends. She's very happy with her life. Eli comes in hot when him and his business partners try to take over Klein, and then when Eli and Rue meet, things start to turn forbidden very quickly. Rue and Eli's undeniable attraction for another can't keep them apart at all, and soon they turn into secret co-workers with benefits. I went into thinking that Not in Love was going to be a rom-com similar to her other feminist stories, but this was very much a romance erotica, and I am not sure I'm the type of gal for that. I do appreciate that Ali Hazelwood dug a little bit deeper with the emotions and sensitive topics that she talks about in this story, so definitely check the trigger warnings. I think that she did such a good job with that because we know now that she can write these fun, spunky rom-coms, but also write these stories with difficult topics and weave them into a cohesive and endearing storyline. Like I mentioned, I'm very much a closed-door romance kind of gal, so I didn't like the spice level of the story, but I still enjoyed it. I forgot to mention I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. To me, I was not in love with Not in Love, but I will read anything that Ali Hazelwood makes. Outside of the DNF that I had, this is my lowest rated book for the month of July, unfortunately. It is Pretty Rings and Broken Things by Kat Singleton. After reading 2 billionaire romances, I think I can for sure say that billionaire romance is not a storyline that I like to read about. This story is about forbidden love and arranged marriages. Winnie gets into a pickle and her actions put her family's reputation at stake. So what happens next is that Winnie has to marry Archer, who is her family's arch nemesis's son. It's a lot of this. I really did not think that made sense at all with the whole rivalry situation with the businesses, but here we are. Archer falls hard and very fast for Winnie, and honestly, there isn't anything to the story besides smut. I thought the first half of the storyline was fun, but then quickly I kept just skipping through the pages trying to get to the end of it. The story just wasn't very captivating for me, and that's okay. Just because I don't like this book doesn't mean that you won't. The last book that I read in the month of July is This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer. This is one of the books that I had noted for my top anticipated releases for the month of 2024. I did make a video, so I'll link it right here. It was a while ago. I can say that I enjoyed this book a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This Wretched Valley follows 4 friends and 1 dog who decide to trek the Kentucky Wilderness Valley to explore this uncharted territory. We follow Dylan, who is a well-known rock climber who is hoping to find fame by being the first person to climb this untouched cliff. This is the cliff. Clay is the other character in this story, and he is a geologist who is studying the terrain of the Kentucky Wild. Other than Clay and Dylan, we have Sylvia, who is Clay's research assistant, and then we have Luke, who is Dylan's boyfriend. With the 4 of them, we have Slade the dog, who is my favorite character of the story. This multi-POV story starts off very peachy and keen until supernatural elements begin to unfold, and then this story turns into a survival horror very quickly. I found the plot to be very thrilling, and I was on the edge of my seat quite a bit. I really liked that we were reading from everyone's point of views, and that made me start to realize that I don't really like any of the characters except for Slade the dog. He is the real MVP. We also have some small bursts of time shifts that really add to the eeriness of the story, and definitely scared me because I was afraid of what's to come with the characters and what would actually happen to them in the present timeline. Overall, I really enjoyed this story. It has a little bit of everything. It has the wild terrains, it has being lost at a campsite, it has rock climbing, it has supernatural elements, and then we also have some historical background added to the mix to really create this horror of a book, and I liked it a lot. I have to say that I'm normally not frightened by these elements or these type of stories, but this one is different because this is loosely based off of the Dyatlov Pass incident, in which 9 hikers died in the northern Ural Mountains in 1959, and no one knows what happened to them or how they died, which is even scarier that things like this happen in real life, and it's happened before. After reading this story, I think that all authors should disclose if any pets die in a book. We need a Does the Dog Die catalog for books because I don't think my heart can handle this. All right, friends, these are all the books that I read in the month of July. I hope you had a great time watching, and let me know in the comments down below what your favorite book that you read in July was. I can't wait for August. It is my birthday month. I'm very excited. When this video goes live, it will actually already be August. So the time has come. My birthday is almost here. We will be celebrating. I hope you have a great day and weekend, and I'll see you in another video next week. Bye.